I saw a humanoid, something in the woods outside my childhood home. This was rural northern Wisconsin and I was 14. Up until that day, I had zero fear of the woods. I spent most of my time out there exploring and feared nothing. My parents had a lousy marriage and fought a lot, and I felt more at home outside than in the house. On hot nights, I'd like to take a sleeping bag and sleep on the roof of an old shack on our property. I saw bears and I saw wolves. They were always more afraid of me than me them. I didn't believe in ghosts, Bigfoot, demons, or even God. I only got lost out there once, when dark fell sooner than expected. I stayed calm, found the North Star, and knew that if I continued south, I'd eventually come across the old railroad tracks near my house. Even the thought of spending the night out there didn't bother me. The thought of my mom's rage when I didn't come home did. So it was summer. I had just turned 14. My mom had left my father worked all the time, and my sister was living on her own. Once school was let out, it was just me and my cat. And this is before the internet or smartphones. We lived on a dead-end dirt road, and around noon I took my usual stroll down the long driveway to check the mail. My cat followed me everywhere, and I actually kind of relied on him to give me a heads up if there was a bear or something close by. A bit of movement behind me as I stood at the mailbox made me aware there was something across the road in the trees, but there are pesky deer everywhere. I heard a loud crash then, like something very loudly making its way through the brush. It's like every goddamn classic horror story. My brain had no capability for the thought of anything paranormal or spooky. I simply tucked the mail under my arm and headed into the woods to investigate. I got about 10 yards in when I noticed what I hadn't noticed before. There was no noise. Nothing. It was a beautiful June day and there wasn't a single bird singing, no insects, no leaves rustling. It was absolutely silent. At the same time I registered the silence, I got that eerie feeling that something was watching me. I stopped immediately and started scanning the woods for deer. Hunters know what I'm talking about when I say you look for the shape of a deer instead of trying to pinpoint them by color. That's when I spotted it. 2 brown furry legs, the top of it was concealed by trees. I went to sigh with relief when my cat hissed. I looked down and he was completely poofed out with his back arched, looking at the same thing I was. I looked back up and the legs moved. Not like a deer, like a human. Everything happened at once after that. I dropped the mail, picked up my cat by the scruff, and ran for it. Whatever was out there with me was running after me. I have never run so fast in my life. I tore up the driveway, into the house, locked the doors, and grabbed the phone. I called my next-door neighbor who was the ex-chief of police, and he came over immediately with his pistol. He checked out the spot I was in and found nothing. I was so hysterical I was in tears. He stayed with me until I was able to reach my mom and have her come get me. Of course, they thought I was completely high or delusional, but I know exactly what I saw and felt. It was broad daylight. I never felt safe in those woods again and stopped sleeping outside. I was a baby when this incident happened, but I believed my sister, who was around 5 years old at the time. My cousins, aunts, and uncles were at a birthday party one Saturday at my grandmother's house in Houston. All the adults were inside the house around dusk, but the older cousins and my sister were outside. My sister isn't sure who noticed the bird in the tree first, but soon all of the cousins noticed it as well. A bird was perched on one of the lower branches just staring at them. Before their horrified eyes, the bird began transforming until it was a woman sitting on the branch leering at them. As they began shouting and screaming for their parents, the woman became a bird again. By this time, the parents had come out to investigate the commotion, but the bird wouldn't budge. Not until my grandmother, a formidable and salt-of-the-earth type woman, went outside did the bird fly off. The house is creepy. It's still in the family and I've had some other strange experiences, as did my mother. My cousin owns it now, and it's still creepy and old, and he doesn't really like living in the little yellow house either. In the beautiful roses my grandmother planted, strange things have been found. Animal bones, guts, melted candles, and other witchcraft type of things. A lady in white has been seen moving from room to room in the past by house guests. This takes place when I was 13. A friend of mine wanted me to help their grandparents set up their computer. I said sure and rode my bicycle to their house. I get there and clouds appear, so I decide to make this pretty quick. I set up the computer and installed AOL for them, showing them all how it works and such. They go back and sit on the couch while I get my backpack to get ready to leave, as their other granddaughter, who was about 4 or 6 years old, was sleeping in the other room. All of a sudden, a cold breeze went through the room. It was odd as all the doors and windows were shut. The grandparents looked towards the kitchen, and what I saw made me freeze in place. There were 3 creatures standing in the kitchen. 2 of them were short gray creatures with a thicker neck than described, with the eyes closer to the sides of their heads, and they wore silver jumpsuits. In between them was a taller creature looking like a humanoid mantis, wearing a black robe with a yellow stripe going down the middle. They walked to another room and a minute later returned with the robed creature carrying the granddaughter in its arms. It's looking at me, and I get the feeling it knows who I am. I don't know why I got the feeling, but I did. I was very scared, more of the situation than of them, and the grandparents were looking at them too, but not doing anything. I decided to say, screw this, and fought off all the fear I could and clumsily charged toward them. I didn't even make it 3 steps before the grandfather stopped me and told me they will bring her back. The creatures didn't move and continued to look at me. I couldn't get any more words out of my throat because I didn't even know what to think at this point. All of a sudden, the light stretched around them and they vanished. An odd glow remained for a few seconds before fading. After a minute of awkward silence and the grandfather repeating she will be brought back soon, I decided to leave. I rode my bicycle back home as fast as I could while looking back to see if some ship was hiding in the clouds. Nothing was there and I didn't sleep that night. The next day, I told my friend what happened and she told me it has happened before. The grandparents and other family members have tried to stop it, but to no avail. They just accepted it with a look of defeat and moved on. The granddaughter was brought back a few hours later, and the whole family moved elsewhere. I've heard from other people who claim to experience similar events, and I feel they are legit.